Welcome to Marc My Words, a podcast that not only aims to inspire and teach the listener about entrepreneurship, it also aims to give my guests an opportunity to talk about their unique journey in entrepreneurship and life. So join me and my guests as we meet at the crossroads on Marc My Words. For today's episode of Marc My Words, I actually don't need a very elaborate introduction for my guest. My guest today, Zhe Scott, is simply known as the SEO Queen. She has a very catchy jingle on her YouTube page. I loved watching the 1 minute promo of the SEO Queen brand, and she is here with us today. She's going to talk about her path. She's going to talk about SEO, which I can't wait to learn about. And it's Zhe Scott. Welcome to the show today. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so glad this is the first show I'm doing at the new place. So I had a little bit of technical difficulties, but she can hear me and I can hear her, and hopefully my mic sounds good, or
Yes,
otherwise
it
we'll
does.
have to
It
do it
sounds great.
again.
It sounds great.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Marc My Words, and thanks for taking some time out of your busy day to hang out and talk a little bit about
Absolutely.
your path, talk a little bit about SEO,
Yes.
and what has become a little bit traditional for my show is I like to start out by talking about just what got you to this point. And I see that let me look again because I want to get it absolutely right. The technical difficulties threw me off. Usually I'm like super duper prepared and ready to go. So you went to school for information technology back at a time when it was still kind of, I guess, in its infancy, kind of like maybe not, maybe in the middle ground between the 70s and now. I know I was thinking a little bit about it. I went to college around the same time you did. What
Mhm.
made you interested in information technology and just tech in general?
Well, that's a great question. When before I was born, my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, sat my dad down and spoke to him about computers, and she expressed to him her thoughts that computers are going to really be important to society. And my dad, when I was 1 years old, graduated from Cal State Dominguez with his computer science degree. So, to make a long story short, I literally grew up with computers, but I did not want to be stuck in front of my computer as much in college. So instead of majoring in computer science, I majored in information technology.
Interesting. I wanted nothing more than to be stuck in front of the computer during that time. It was when the internet was really starting to take off and people were actually starting to get computers in their home. And your story about your dad is interesting. The only difference between your dad and my dad that sounds like your dad actually did something and he actually, you know, made a move into that industry. Whereas my dad told me years ago that early 80s they were offering like IBM classes,
Hmm.
and I can't even remember if he took one or not. My feeling is he thought about doing it and then didn't do it, and then everything with tech really exploded after that. But it really made me think of that right away. And even though my dad didn't take that route with his life, he always made sure that we had like a computer and internet, and he made
Hmm.
sure that we at least had some kind of foundation and understanding, which I'm glad because I spent so much time in front of my Tandy computer, my Tandy 1000 back in like 1990. And that's where my passion for technology, I mean, I always had a bit of a passion before that, but that was when it really
Hmm.
took off and the imagination went.
Yeah, I grew up with like the Atari and the Commodore computer, and my dad really taught me everything I know about computers. And when I was going through grade school, I didn't take any AP computer science classes because I learned so much at home. But once I went to college, I really started to develop an understanding on how deep the rabbit hole goes with computer science. And I really, uh, as a freshman at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, I really was intrigued by the idea of a computer program that was visible globally, the World Wide Web. And so that really drew my attention. And, after I graduated from MIT, I worked at Raytheon as a business programming technologist or I call it a web applications developer because that's what I was doing. I was developing web applications, integrating databases into websites, and you know understanding how to integrate HTML and SQL. And that was my first foray into professional um, technology. And so many years after that, I delved deeper into web technology, and I started really understanding what SEO was. Because when I graduated from MIT, I heard like whispers of Google here and there. I really didn't really try it out until after I heard about it. Like now, when I hear about a new technology, I jump on it right away. But back then, I was like Google. I was using Yahoo and just clicking on the categories and going from there and doing that. And then I eventually moved over to Google, and then I really started to understand the power of search engine optimization, and I've been doing SEO ever since.
So you were interested in SEO and actually, incorporating it into your career probably way before I even knew what SEO really was. So that's
Yeah, I started getting into SEO around 2008, 2009. So that was almost 10 years after Google really was launched. Um, at the time, I was working at this very small technology company in Michigan. And what really, I've always had an interest in entrepreneurship, even, when I was an undergrad at MIT, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I really didn't know, how I wanted to proceed. And then once I went through graduate school in public policy and really understood poverty and just the dynamics with federal policy with regards to economics, understanding, doing a deeper dive into economics. I took economics classes at MIT, but I really got deep into it, into micro and macroeconomics at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. And from there, I really came face to face with, the impact that my work would have on the world at large. We all, want to leave the world better than what we, arrived at it. And for me, I really became passionate about search engine optimization for small businesses and micro businesses after really understanding the policy implications and my own personal experience working as a W 2 in corporate America.
Yeah, so I noticed your master's education in public policy, and that caught my eye only because I did a minor in public administration, which is kind of sort of related, or at least where I went, they certainly tied the two together. And
Hmm.
it's interesting to me, they always say when you go to college and you major in something, a lot of people don't really implement what their major or their minors were. And I'm
Hmm.
just starting to implement some of the knowledge I gained with my minor now over the past year or two. You've pretty much been utilizing your major and really both majors through your whole career. So that's pretty impressive.
Oh, thank you. I literally am a violinist, an author, CEO. I I'm really really passionate about the Word of God. So there's just so many different dimensions to me and what I do. And I literally have been so blessed and fortunate to have went to a place like the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I had the opportunity to break bread with Noam Chomsky before, and so many other notable people, Nobel Prize winners, President Vest, may he rest in peace. I believe he worked in, I want to say, the Bush administration in science policy. He actually, once he retired from being the president of MIT, he was a president at the time I was, he actually landed at University of Michigan in Ann Arbor at the same time I was as a guest speaker. And so it was really interesting to cross paths with him. And so I literally have had just a rich um, multi-dimensional experience that has allowed my company under my leadership to drive $250 million worth of revenue for our clients since our launch in 2017.
Yeah, you.
And
Oh no.
it's been a great ride. It's been a great ride, a great experience, and I feel like we're just really getting started.
Well, you have a lot of really interesting experiences, so I'd be curious to know, even though you had such a fulfilling life and career professionally, where was like the fork in the road where you said, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to do my own thing a little more?
Well, the fork in the road came in 2012. That was a very definitive year for me, both professionally and personally. And I realized that just as a Black woman with all the degrees and accolades that I have, I really grew frustrated with communicating my worth and my impact. I had applied for a position with Cobalt ADP. I was invited to apply half a dozen times, and they told me I needed more experience. Um, the company that I was working for, the small technology company, I grew my book of business to $500,000 in recurring revenue um, in 2 years, and yet I still was on food stamps. So, those adverse experiences really were the catalyst for me to build the SEO Queen, and it has been a challenge. And you have to choose your difficult. And for me, working with the SEO Queen and all the many people I've gotten to meet has been just amazing, amazing.
Yeah, I, for one, so When I left my company of 10 years, I was offered buyout package and I took it. I kind of felt like that was just the end of the story for that chapter of
Mhm.
my life. And I spent a lot of years just contracting in my field. I work in like the television industry, just behind the camera, very behind the camera, and really
Mhm.
opens up a lot of doors for freelancing. Kind of hard to get in as like a full time employee somewhere. So I spent a lot of time and I hit kind of a similar kind of fork in the road where I was like, I just feel like I'm not fulfilled enough because what I was doing before was very fulfilling. And then I went
Mhm.
from being a manager to just doing the tech job and the tech work, which is still great. I mean, not everybody can do some of the things I've been doing, I guess. They don't have the
Mhm.
training, but it's just like I wanted more than that. Like I think being a manager made me hungry for that. And
Mhm.
interviewing, when you said that you were getting turned away for not enough experience, I
Mhm.
felt kind of sort of the same thing was happening to me in my journey where I was being told, well, you're overqualified, or maybe you don't have enough experience for whatever reason, and had a lot of just interviews that didn't work out. And I'm like, I just cannot understand why.
Mhm.
And I think, like you, it got the wheels spinning of, okay, what can I do? How can I empower myself rather than relying on climbing the corporate ladder and dealing with all the politics that go into that? How can I empower myself? And
Right.
that's when I started thinking about podcasting, blogging, and
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
talk about the world really opening up. I mean, if for no other reason, I feel like you should start a business or even a podcast just to meet all kinds of people and to have those experiences because just
Right.
I'll tell you, the past few weeks have been exhausting. I talked about it a little bit before we started, and I
Mhm.
had zero energy for doing a podcast. But knowing who my guest was and just knowing the energy that I get from doing an
Mhm.
episode, I did it
Mhm.
anyway. And for that reason, just the ability to connect with somebody I would maybe not meet or connect with otherwise, that
Mhm.
that in itself is a great reason to start any business.
Right. One of the things that love about, excuse me, about being an entrepreneur is the fact that I get to meet so many people, and I always just I, like, this week I'm launching a magazine. I'm launching the Algorithm magazine. And, this is something that I would not have the time and the resources to do if my time was being dictated by a 9 to 5. And so for me, working with the clients that I work with, it's definitely a challenge, and I love it. And it's a challenge because every brand is different. So just understanding the ethos of that brand. Other challenges arise in terms of technical challenges. Like right now, we're in the midst of rolling out a campaign for quite a big project. And people, if I were to mention the names, you would all know them. But, just working with such, phenomenal people and brands is definitely an honor and a privilege. And if I hadn't um, had the expectation of better and more, it it would not have happened.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about one thing in there about 9 to 5. So you just presented a great, I don't want to say argument, but for since my mind is all mush here, we'll say argument about about just what the reward is of having so much control over your day and your life that the 9 to 5 is no longer holding you back. And I don't know if I'll sit here and say my 9 to 5 job is holding me back because I have a ton of flexibility. It's an amazing job, amazing opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think, my expectation when I was an undergrad at MIT was that I would, you know, climb up the corporate ladder and make it to the C-suite and retire from there. Like that was my expectation. And many of my dorm mates, colleagues, they're currently in the C-suite at really big companies. However, for whatever reason, I took a different path. Search engine optimization is not even 30 years old. I mean, it's barely 20 years old. This is a new field. Um, Google just announced that it's taking the websites from Google business sites away. I just entered the beta testing group for the Google search generated experiences, and there's so much that's happening. Of course, there's AI, and so there's so many challenges and changes technologically that are happening online and in the business space, and it's a really exciting time to be in this space. But it's also, I understand that my skills, my company is needed more than ever. We actually had the opportunity to bid on a contract with Center by Lendistry, which is affiliated with Lendistry, and I've been doing technical assistance with them for a year. I've taught at UCLA for the past 2 years, and just equipping people with the knowledge that they need in order to navigate this business landscape is something that I'm really passionate about. It's something that, if you look at my company's reviews, you'll see that people of all walks of life, all business sizes, definitely enjoy the results that they're getting with the SEO Queen. And yeah, I enjoy helping them and assisting their brands to get more visibility online.
SEO is something you said that your type of business is very much needed. And I couldn't agree more with that because as somebody who tried to implement SEO, I looked a little bit. You use Pinterest a lot. I don't know if that's something you still use, but
Oh, absolutely. You
I
did your research.
hey, mark my words. We come prepared. So
Yeah, you sure did. I'm impressed. Oh,
yeah.
okay,
Hey,
Mark.
I like to know my guests. I'll just there's some hosts that they hit record, they ask questions, and they'll do the research. They do a great job. I with me, it's not just being a host. It's like everything I do, I have to be prepared. So
Mhm.
putting that aside, uh, basically it caught my attention with Pinterest because
Yeah.
I did a lot of playing around years ago with
Hmm.
not just my blog, which I'm
Hmm.
currently not upkeeping. I would like to do that again at some point, but
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
with like my Instagram, my blog, just using Pinterest to try to generate traffic and taking all that secondhand advice and like some of it worked, some of it didn't. It didn't really get me the results that I probably wanted or needed. And even now with the podcast, it's like I'm trying to utilize some of the SEO and the keywords and all that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody like you is really needed because, yeah, there's advice out there, there's tools, and we
Mm-hmm.
can punch in words that are relevant, but there's more of a science to it than that, and probably more of a science than just maybe some people, and I say some people, probably meaning me more than anything, give it
Right.
credit for. And
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know your perspective on, just SEO and the basics and what, you don't have to give away all of your secrets here, but just talk about it a little bit and, just what role do some of these tools play?
Yeah, so SEO is really powerful because it's like it's coordinating the existing demand in the market with your supply. It's when you draw them together. And so when you understand your keyword economy is what I call all the keywords that people are using to ask questions about what you sell, to describe what you sell, and to connect with what you sell. So when you can dominate your keyword economy, you can really make a big impact in the market. And so this is something that I'm really passionate about, and we're definitely this year really doubling down, even with our own company SEO. So we're constantly looking for ways to improve results for our clients. One thing that we love to do is leveraging Pinterest and digital PR. And so those are the two things that we find really move the needle for our clients in major ways. And they keep on coming back more and more and more. And so building a business, a lot of people think building a business is something you do overnight, but it takes many years to become an overnight success. And, there are some people out there that are using um, unethical or black hat techniques to rank. But those things are really temporary, and they only work as long as Google allows them to work before Google shuts them down. Um, I really like focusing on the keyword economy because it is algorithm update agnostic. It doesn't matter what the algorithm is doing, as long as you're tapping into the demand that is out there. More often than not, your competitors are not. And so, that in and of itself, because you're thorough with your targeting and you're paying attention to detail, you are able to take over your niche and dominate it as a result.
Yeah, dominating would be great. And you said one thing about overnight success that it takes years. And let me tell you, for as prepared as Mark My Words comes to every episode, I can confirm that having a business, having a podcast, whatever it is that you're passionate about, you really
Hmm.
do have to work at it. And being an entrepreneur or a business owner, whatever your passion is, it takes time. And
Yeah.
this has definitely not been overnight for me.
Hmm.
I like how my podcast is growing, and
Hmm.
I think I've had some amazing guests since the first year, but
Hmm.
I definitely see a growth in just the type of guests I've been getting on my show. And it takes
Hmm.
time. It takes a lot of time, effort, and just keeping yourself out there.
Right, right, absolutely. Because this is another thing, like, regardless of what your niche is, your content is competing with all the content that's out there. And people only have so much attention. So it's really up to you to create content that really, really resonates with them.
And one thing that I always like to emphasize with starting a business that
Mm-hmm.
I think, especially like, I know I keep giving the example of podcasting, but I think some podcasters miss, and even just business owners sometimes miss that you got to really have like a focus and a plan. And you can't just say, well, I have a business, maybe it's even, we'll even use SEO. I have an SEO business. Okay, well, what do you do? What do you specialize in? Well, I don't know, keywords. You gotta have more of a plan and a structure and focus and give people something tangible to latch onto so they know what your message is and what you have to offer. And just
Right.
you accomplish half the battle with A, the name of your business, and B, that awesome jingle. So that right there, that marketing background really helped you so much.
Well, thank you. What you said is so true. And this is why I spent a lot of time last year just developing just the SEO Queen's brand of SEO. And so I wanted to name our approach where we leverage social signals through Pinterest, and we leverage digital PR, and we developed our processes to help our clients win on a consistent basis. I spoke to a client yesterday and she said, "Yes, I'm definitely getting more sales and I definitely see what you guys are doing." She came to us with a beautifully branded website. She was very clear and engaged in the process. And as a result, we've been able to increase her visibility online for her most ideal clients. And she's seeing her revenue uptick because of that. And our approach to SEO, we launched our website last year, the Quantum SEO Method. And what the Quantum SEO Method is, it goes further than our launch phase and our signature programs by also creating the standard operating procedures and your team, either training your existing team or building a team for you internally so that you can continue. Once the SEO Queen is done, you can continue internally growing your visibility online and keeping your finger on the pulse of your keyword economy. And so, yeah, to your point, we definitely have taken the time to name our SEO approach. It is called the Quantum SEO Method.
And we mentioned AI, or at least you mentioned AI a little bit. Maybe I'm thinking in my head. Uh,
Yes.
so AI, what's your perspective on AI? Is it an enemy? Is it a friend? Does it help you? Does it hurt you? Where does AI stand in your business?
Well, it's a tool. It's a tool that is used that has to be used wisely. Um, if if we are able to come up with ideas quickly, there's really no AI necessary. Um, if we are having a little bit of a challenge, brainstorming and thinking of a way to create content or strategy for whatever reason, then AI is employed as a brainstorming or ideation tool. But at the end of the day, everybody has access to AI. And I see it as like a power tool. Like some tasks require a screwdriver, some tasks require a power drill. So you, as the business owner, as a marketer, have to have the wisdom and the experience to know when do you employ one or the other. And one of the challenges that I do see with AI is that it really lacks context and cultural competency. And those are two things that are often hard to program into a, a machine learning model. And so, yeah, so I think AI is we do use it internally. We do use it, and however we use it wisely.
Yeah, AI is one of those topics that some people are fearing it, some people are, I guess, embracing it and using it in ways that you could never have imagined technology going even like
Hmm.
10 years ago. So,
Right.
for you, what are some ways that you think AI may or may not be able to help you in the future?
Well, I think one of the reasons why everybody needs to be aware of AI is because AI is going to impact the perception of your brand. I just like this search generated experiences with Google. I tested it and I put in my company name and then I asked it some questions about my company. And I did find really, I would say 80% of the information that was given was accurate. I would say 20% of it was either not helpful or not accurate. Not helpful in the sense that it was talking about other companies, and that's not helpful. So if you understand that, first of all, Google is the most popular website on the planet, like hands down. Like Facebook pales, the traffic on Facebook pales in comparison to the traffic on Google, first of all. Second of all, people trust organic results much more than they do paid results. So if you're using Google Ads, you definitely want to have an organic strategy as well. The challenge with AI is that the train has really left the station. And you, as a business owner, if you don't invest your time or hire an expert like me, your business is going to be impacted. It may not be impacted today, but it will. The more people who tap into the search generated experiences, if you don't control the narrative within Google's AI, you will become invisible. And that's just the reality.
Well, I'm going to use the word somehow, use the word invisible to segue into a topic that I really want to talk about, and it is diversity, which we're trying to make people less invisible and much more visible. And I know for me, I,
Mm-hmm.
I know for you, diversity is very important, and definitely want to get your take on the actual role that it plays. And I know for me, just even though I don't want to emphasize anything too much, but just as a white guy who I was born with a very rare syndrome, and even though I am like a white guy, it's like I've had a lot of challenges with just being born with cleft lip palate and all these challenges I've had in my life. So diversity has been always been very important to me, and just kind of goes beyond just a racial thing, because there's a lot of people with just disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much diversity out there, and
Absolutely.
I'm so happy that that kind of thing is getting more of a spotlight now. And I try to do my part with this show. I try to do
Mm-hmm.
my part. February, as you can see,
Mm-hmm.
I have records behind me, and the whole
Mm-hmm.
month of February was all Black artists. This month is women. because it's International Women's Month, even thinking of that. And just one, I know that you're a speaker, and I see you have some things on your uh, LinkedIn talking about some things that you do. And I just want to get your perspective on diversity and your role, and what role it plays for you, and the importance and the impact that you want to make.
Well, I think, diversity is very important. My team is very diverse. In my company, I have women, men, um, Asian, African, Black, just all types of people on my team. And the diversity is important because we all have our own blind spots, and we learn so much from each other when we work together. And that's one thing that I have found with my company is the diversity and the teamwork really comes together in a big way. We've had we actually are in the process of launching some other initiatives to even make our company even more open to diversity, offering SEO in other languages. Excuse me. And so, these are things that are really important, especially in this world. Like when I went to public policy school and I studied, just the politics of the world and the impact of different countries on others, it really, and I worked with a lot of developers and SEO professionals out of India, Pakistan, just different places over my career. And so I think diversity is really important to be able to communicate with other people from other cultures, other faiths. This is important, and it is the world that we live in. And yeah, I think when you have diverse perspectives and diverse experiences, it's especially when it comes to SEO, it becomes really a benefit. I'm thinking of one client in particular, Intijaka Shange's estate. When we started working with them some years ago, they were practically, uh, Intijaka Shange is a prolific writer, uh, cultural icon, um, but her estate wasn't visible online in the keyword economy around Intijaka Shange. My company was able to change that because, I have the diverse experience of being able to have attended one of the performances of her play for Color Girls. This was a play about the Black woman's experience in America, and it really spoke to me as an undergraduate at MIT. And then Tyler Perry made a movie based on the play, and so these are the type of experiences that allow uh, people like me to avoid snafus like the Gucci mask or the H&M um, jungle T-shirt. So that cultural competency is very, very important.
Yeah, no, that's really important. And I know with this show, I get a lot of people that it gets to a point where you're on Podmatch just like I am, and sometimes I'm just like, okay, all right, now I got somebody who not only you know has something different to offer as far as their profession, but they might be from a different country or they have a disability. And it's like, okay, now we're getting into something that opens things up and really kind of sheds a different light, because not only is the world in general a very diverse place, but the entrepreneurial world is a very interesting and diverse place as well. And I really want to get that out there, that there's all these really interesting people from all of these different walks of life doing amazing things. And
Mhm.
like what you're doing is just, it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing is amazing. And I need to hear about it because I don't know anything. At least I used to think I did know something about SEO, but I really don't know anything. So it's awesome to have somebody like you who's had such a rich life and all these amazing experiences, and you come with a unique perspective. And I just think we need more of that. And I think that's one of the reasons that I kind of got over some imposter syndrome and said, look, I think I can get behind the mic and actually do this. I think people seeing me, somebody with some of the challenges that I have, whether you
Mhm.
see it or hear it, or I talk about it or mention it, it's
Mhm.
like hopefully that inspires people, and it's like, wow, he was born with that issue and he's overcoming that and getting behind the mic and talking. And maybe I don't have any issues at all, and what am I doing? I have this intuition to do it, but I don't feel like I'm good enough yet. He has challenges and he's doing it anyway. So it's like all those different perspectives I want to reach and get people inspired. So, and I can tell from your message and just some of the things you do within and outside of SEO Queen that you kind of share a similar outlook. So it's great to hear your side of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. I think, diversity is important. And I think, you know, um, going past and rising above your adversity is important too. Resilience is the key. And, when I think about, how I felt back in 2012, when, I was underpaid and underappreciated for someone in my industry, it was really, being resilient and faith in me, faith in God for something better that really carried me through. And it's, being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. It's not. And it comes with a lot of twists and turns, but and you also have to motivate yourself. Yeah, yeah. There's no motivation externally. It all has to come from within, and so that is something that I really appreciate, and it has been it's been an awesome experience.
So, resilience is like one of my favorite words. It's a word that I use on my resume. It's a word I use on this show. It's a word I use with friends. I use that word all the time. And for me, my entire life, I've had to dig deep because I don't know really anybody like me. So it's like, how do I bounce back?
Hmm.
I bounce back through digging deep, as you mentioned. And I think a lot of us as entrepreneurs, business owners, we all kind of hit that same, not all of us, but a lot of us hit that
Hmm.
same wall. We're trying to climb the corporate ladder, we're trying to get noticed, and we're being underestimated. Our abilities aren't really being utilized, our creativity is not being utilized. And
Hmm.
that's when you start to really dig deep and think. And that's when things like SEO Queen and Mark My Words become a reality. And
Right.
all I've noticed, one of the trends in this show that I've noticed is a lot of us have that same, we all hit like the wall with our actual, corporate career. And it's like, okay, what do you do? Do you just keep on going and, just be frustrated and feel
Mhm.
some of those feelings, or do you do something about it? Are you
Mhm.
resilient? And as you pointed out, not everybody is an entrepreneur, and not everybody wants to do that. But
Mhm.
if you do hit that wall, what do you do? What are you doing for yourself? And
Right.
and that, I guess that was the end of my thought.
Yeah, so I mean, to piggyback on what you said, resilience is really important. Being able to make that change and quickly adjust to what happens in the marketplace is really important. I literally I was so tired of the possibility of layoffs and not being paid, what I was worth, and finding out that people with less education than me and less experience are getting paid more, and it's just so much that you know just left so many things in me that I desired. And so now I'm okay with saying no. Now I'm really treasuring that time with my family, with myself, being able to engage in self-care and just spending time in the Word of God, and spending time, working with my clients is really important. And that's how I maintain my resilience, is through my faith and through prayer and just not giving up.
Yeah, you touched on so many words and points there that I wish we had like another hour to get into. And again, I mean, resilience is huge, not just in business, but in life. And sometimes there is like, I guess, a formula that goes into climbing up the corporate ladder. And it took me, so I left my job of 10 years in 2016 with the buyout and everything. It took
Mhm.
me until this year to get into an actual company as a full-time employee, not just contracting. Like, it took a long time, and I had some really good experiences along the way,
Mhm.
but to climb the corporate ladder, sometimes it takes like a certain, I guess, mixture of people, a formula,
Mhm.
a certain personality, and
Right.
other things that play a role as well. And it can be very challenging. And all the stuff that you're saying that is a reward for running your own business is, just for me working largely remote, I understand, just the benefits of the time you get back. And, just for example, I was able to log off of my job and just
Mhm.
come over here and have this awesome conversation for an hour, and would
Mhm.
not be able to do that if my life was the way it was 10 years ago. So being
Mhm.
an entrepreneur, having control over your life is huge. And speaking
Mhm.
of having control, why don't you tell us a bit about how people can find you, and if they want your services, how can they reach you? I'll give the SEO queen the floor.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Mark. You can reach me at SEO Queen. I was trying to point that. Okay, there we go. SEOqueen.com, and my email is ZHE at the SEOqueen.com and ZHE at SEOqueen.com. Either email address will reach me. And you can also go on SEOqueen.com and click on Speak to the SEO Queen to schedule a complimentary 15-minute strategy call with moi.
Awesome. Well, I highly recommend if you're having any issues with SEO, come find Z. She has a plethora of wisdom and knowledge, and I learned a lot just from your TikTok and your YouTube. And yeah, SEO is a tough battle to tackle. It's so simple yet so complicated. So I really appreciate you coming on Mark My Words, and apologize for some of the technical delay. And I know we've run over an hour of our actual meeting
Hmm.
time, so I will just cut to the chase. Thanks to Zhe Scott, the SEO Queen, for being on Mark My Words. And I'm Mark Schmidt, and this was Mark My Words. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks again for taking time out of your busy day to listen to Mark My Words. If you would like to connect with me beyond the show, you can find me on LinkedIn at Mark Schmidt, where I will be talking about entrepreneurship, careers, and anything else that is on my mind. You can also connect with me on Twitter and Instagram at Nimrod1979 and Nimrod79 respectively. This podcast also has a page on Instagram at Mark My Words. And finally, if you want to leave me a voicemail or check out what I'm up to with the podcast, come find me at podpage.com/mark-my-words. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back with a new episode soon. Bye for now.